Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Enlightening India. Today, we are going to read the fourth chapter of 5 Go to Smuggler Stop. Before we get into this, let me quickly summarize what happened in the last three. So, the children had come home, their house where they were staying had got destroyed, and Uncle Quentin had a great idea to send them to Sooty Lenore's house, Smuggler Stop, and they had called a car, and the children were on their way. There was a slight mystery in the last couple of chapters on what was to happen to Timmy, because Timmy was not allowed at Smuggler Stop and George had probably made up something, made an idea. She had left him down along the road with maybe a friend. And when the car was going towards Suti Lenore's house, they had picked him up around the middle, when they were traveling along the way. And now nobody knows how people are going to react when they reach to Smuggler Stop. Let's see. Chapter 4 Smuggler Stop. The car sped on, mostly along the coast, though it sometimes went inland for a few miles. But sooner or later, it was in sight of the sea again. The children enjoyed the long drive. They were to stop somewhere for lunch, and the driver told them he knew of a good inn. At 12:30, he drew up outside an old inn, and they all trooped in. Julian took charge and ordered lunch. It was a very good one. All the children enjoyed it. So did Timmy. So when they were on their way, they were obviously getting hungry after some time. And the driver told them that he knew of a good inn. A inn is a place where you can get food and most sometimes there's also accommodation. So it's just like a hotel, okay? And at 12:30, so at 12:15, they stopped outside the hotel and had food. The innkeeper liked dogs and put down such a piled up plate for Timmy that the dog hardly liked to begin on his meal in case it was not for him. He looked up at George and she nodded at him. It's your dinner, Timmy. Eat it up. So he ate it, hoping that if they were going to stay anywhere, they might be staying at the inn. Meals like this did not arrive every day for a hungry dog. So the Timmy was also given a very filled up plate of food, and before he began eating, thought he should ask George whether this meal is actually for him, since the plate was so full. And Timmy, generally being a dog, the food that he was given was the healthy dog food, right? It wasn't along these lines. But after lunch, the children got up. They went to find the driver, who was having his lunch in the kitchen with the innkeeper and his wife. They were old friends of his. Well, I hear you're going away to Castaway, said the innkeeper, getting up. You be careful there. Castaway, said Julian. Is that what the hill is called, where Smuggler Top is? That's his name, said the innkeeper. Why is it called that? Asked Dan. What a funny name. Were people cast away on it once when it was an island? So the children are done with their lunch. They come outside and then see that the driver is having food with the innkeeper and his wife. Apparently, they are good friends. And during that conversation, they hear the term castaway. That's the probably the name of the island where the hill is, and the hill has the house Smuggler Stop. Oh no, the old story goes that the hill was once joined to the mainland, said the innkeeper, but it was the haunt of bad people, and one of the saints became angry with the place and cast it away into the sea, where it became an island. And so it was called Castaway, said Dick. But perhaps it has got good again, because the sea has gone away from it, and you can walk from the mainland to the hill, can't you? So now there's a folklore behind Castaway. There's a story which has been told along down the generations that before being an island, the hill was actually connected to the main to the main land of the city. But since there used to be a lot of bad people living it, one day a saint is also a sage, a good person. Basically, he got angry because there were so many bad people and pushed that island away to the sea. So now this is just a story that's been passed along generations. Okay. Yes, there's one good road you can take, said the innkeeper. But you be careful of wandering away from it. If you go walking on it, the marsh will suck you down in no time if you set foot on it. It does sound like a most exciting place, said George. Smuggler stop on Castaway Hill. Only one road to it. Time to get on, said the driver, looking at the clock. You have got to be there before tea, your uncle said. They got into the car again, Timmy clambering over legs and feet to a comfortable place on George's lap. So now that the okay, let me explain it to you what how the island currently looks like. It's a bit far from the main city, and there used to be a sea around the island, which had the hill on which Smuggler's Top was a few years ago. But now the sea has gone away. It has sort of dried, okay, and the land around the island is marshy, as we had talked about last time. It's filled with wet mud and it's very watery. And also, we just learned that if you walk on the marsh, it will suck you down. So it's something like quicksand. Okay, quicksand is a thing which is not found at, and I've never obviously seen it, but it's a place where if you stand on the sand, you gradually get pulled into the ground. Okay, so there's one road from the city to the Smuggler's Top, that island, and around that road, it's all marshy. So again, the whole mysterious vibe with this place. Timmy was far too big and heavy to lie there, but just occasionally he seemed to want to, and George never had the heart to refuse him. They drove off once more. Anne fell asleep, and the others felt drowsy too. Drowsy is also sleepy. The car purred on and on. It began to rain, and the countryside looked rather dreary. The driver turned around after a while and spoke to Julian. We are coming near to Castaway Hill, sir. We'll soon be leaving the mainland and taking the road across the marsh. So the driver just gives him an update, and this is the road that I'm talking about. They have traveled towards the city end, the mainland, and now there's one road straight up to Castaway Island on which Smuggler's Stop is. So they're just about to start on that road. Julian woke Anne. They all sat up expectantly. Now this road sounds very exciting, right? So everybody just woke up thinking, "Well, let's see what's going to happen." But it was very disappointing after all. The marshes were full of mist. Mist is fog, okay? So probably there were a lot of low hanging clouds in that area. There was a lot of fog and you could not see the marshy area. The children could not pierce through it with their eyes, so they could not see it, and could only see the flat road they were on, raised a little higher than the surrounding flat marsh. When the mist shifted a little now and then, the children saw a dreary space of flat marsh on either side. Stop a minute, driver, said Julian. I would like to see what the marsh is like. Well, don't step off the road, warned the driver, stopping the car. And don't you let that dog out, miss. Once he runs off the road and gets into the marsh, he will be gone for good. So Julian wants the driver to stop the car so that they can see what the marsh actually looks like, because they cannot see it from the car because of the mist. And so he tells the driver, hey, can you stop? The driver warns them, very good, I'll stop, but you see the marsh only from the car, only from the road. Do not walk around anywhere, and especially do not leave Timmy out. Because if Timmy, being a dog, if he runs anywhere, it's going to be almost impossible to get him. What do you mean gone for good? Said Anne, her eyes wide. He means the marsh will suck down Timmy at once, said Julian. So as we just discussed, the marsh will, suck down people or things or animals if you step on it. Shut him in the car, George. So Timmy, much to his disgust, was safely was shut safely in the car. He pawed at the door and tried to look out the window. So Timmy was, put in the car, and that's a brilliant decision here. It's not worth what could happen. The driver turned and spoke to him. It's all right, Timmy. They'll be back soon, old fellow. But Timmy whined all the time. The others were out of the car. He saw them go to the edge of the road. He saw Julian jump down the couple of feet that raised the road above the marsh. There was a line of raised stones running in the marsh alongside the road. Julian stood on one of those, peering at the flat marsh. It's mud, he said. Loose, squelchy mud. Look, when I touch it with my foot, it moves. It would suck me down if I trod heavily on it. So Julian, being the big brother here, steps on a stone that is alongside the road, and he looks into the marsh and he tells everyone what it is. So as we had already discussed, it's basically wet mud that can suck people down into the ground. Anne did not like it. She called to Julian, "Come up on the road again. I'm afraid you'll fall in." Mists were wreathing and swirling over the salty marshes. It was a weird place, cold and damp. None of the children liked it. Timmy began to bark in the car. "Tim will scratch the car to bits if we don't get back," said George. So they all went back, rather silent. Julian wondered how many travelers had been lost in that strange sea marsh. "Oh, there's many that's never been heard of again," said the driver when they asked him. So the children were curious what has happened to travelers who don't know anything about this place. They do say there's one or two winding paths that go to the hill from the mainland that were used before the road was built. But unless you know every inch of them, you are off them in a trice and find your feet sinking in the mud. And the driver tells them that before this whole road was built, uh, it wasn't a very old road, okay? So it's a relatively newer piece of infrastructure. So before this road, there were a few paths created by the locals living there, and they weren't very straight and they weren't as consistent. So if you did not know the path and if you walked off here and there from the path even one step, you would fall into the marsh and it would be bad for you. "It's horrid to think about," said Anne. Anne is a young girl and she sort of does not like all that she hears about the marsh. Nobody would. It's rather sad. "Don't. Let's talk about it anymore. Please, let's not talk about it anymore. Can we see Castaway Hill yet?" "Yes, there it is, looming up in the mist," said the driver. "The top of it is out of the mist. See? Strange place, isn't it?" The children looked in silence. Out of the slowly moving mists rose a tall, steep hill whose rocky sides were as steep as cliffs. So they can finally see the house. They can finally see Castaway Hill, and there's mist around it, but they can see some parts of it. The hill seemed to swim in the mists. Now, obviously, the hill is not swimming in the mist, but the hill is surrounded by the white clouds, the fog, that it looks as if it's swimming in a cloud, and with some part out of the cloud, sort of like a swimmer. The hill seemed to swim in the mists and to have no roots in the earth. It was covered with buildings, which even at the distance looked old and quaint. Quaint is also basically old. Some of the buildings had towers. "That must be Smuggler's Top, right at the summit," said Julian, pointing. "It's like an old building of centuries ago." "Probably is. Look at the tower it has. What a wonderful view you would get from it." The children gazed at the place where they were to stay. It looked exciting and picturesque. Certainly, but it also looked rather forbidding. The children were now able to see some of the buildings on Castaway Island, and Julian says that that must be Smuggler's Top, which is right at the summit. The summit means right at the top. And this is a guess they're making, and it probably is correct because Smuggler's Top, right? So they're thinking it's a very old building. It has many towers also. So it's not like a normal house like you or me stay in. It's like a building which has towers, something along the lines of like Taj Mahal. The Taj Mahal has towers, right? That we have seen at the end. It has it has long, bigger towers, probably Smuggler's Top. "It's sort of secretive somehow," said Anne, putting into words what the others were thinking. I mean, it looks as if it had kept all kinds of strange secrets down the centuries. I guess it could tell plenty of tales. The car drove on again, quite slowly, because the mists became quite thick. So again, the car again started going after they had visualized everything, after they'd seen everything. But now it was going very slowly because the fog had grown. It had become more thick. The road had a line of sparkling round buttons set all along the middle, and when the driver switched on his fog lamp, they shone brightly and guided him well. Then, as they neared Castaway Hill, the road began to slope upwards. We go through a big archway soon, said the driver. That used to be where the city gate once was. The whole town is surrounded by a wall, just as it used to be in olden times. It's wide enough to walk on, and if you start at a certain place and walk long enough, you will come right round to the place you started at. All the children made up their minds to do this without fail. So now, obviously, there's a hill on an island, and Smuggler's Stop is obviously at the top, right? So, gradually, as they got near to Castaway Hill, the road began to slope upwards. So, it began to climb because the road was pointed upwards since they actually had to reach the house. And then the driver also tells them that there's a big wall surrounding the island. And if you start walking at one place, and if you walk keep walking, then you'll reach the same place after some time. So it's a wall which is surrounding the island. What a view they would have all around the hill if they chose a fine day. The road became steeper, and the driver put the engines into a lower gear. It groaned up the hill. Then it came to an archway from which old gates were fastened back. It passed through, and the children were in Castaway. So the road became steeper, and the car, obviously, when a car filled with so many people is trying to climb a slopey road, it becomes tough. So the car was making all sorts of noises. But they finally get to the archway, and they finally get into Castaway. It's almost as if we have gone back through the centuries and come to somewhere that existed ages ago, said Julian, peering at the old houses and shops with their cobble streets, their diamond paned window, and stout old doors. Stout means short. So the children are thinking that they have come to a time which was maybe centuries ago. Now everybody is living in normal houses, is living in new houses. They see all these new kinds of shops and everything. But all the houses and shops at Castaway looked very old. They had wooden doors and a whole old vibe going among them. They went up the winding high street and came at last to a big gateway set with wrought iron gates. The driver hooted and they opened. Hooted means he pressed the horn. They swept into a steep drive and at last stopped before Smuggler's Stop. They got out, feeling suddenly shy. The big, old house seemed to frown down at them. So the children have finally arrived at Smuggler's Stop. Let's see. It was built of brick and timber. Timber means wood. It was built of brick and timber, and its front door was as massive as that of a castle. So it had a castle thing going for it. It looked more like a castle than a house. Strange gables jutted here and there over the diamond paned window. The house's one tower stood sturdily at the east side of the house, with windows all around. It was not a square tower, but a rounded one, and ended in a point. Smuggler's Stop, said Julian. It's a good name for it somehow. I supposed lots of smuggling went on here in the old days. So the house is made of brick and wood, and also it's the gables jutted out. Gables are basically triangular walls, so it's not built in one shape like a rectangle. How houses these days are mostly built. It's a weird looking thing. Looks more like a castle, and there's also a tower which has windows all around it at the east side of the house. That is probably why I'm getting the feeling that it's called Smuggler's Stop, because it's at the top of the hill. It has a pointy tower, and the children are now also assuming that a lot of smuggling went on here in the old days. So smuggling, as we have already discussed, is criminals, thieves, robbers selling goods that they have probably stolen to people. They're transferring goods which are not rightfully purchased and making a lot of money. It's a big crime. So they have reached smuggler's stop. Dick rang the bell. To do this, he had to pull down an iron handle, and a jangling at once made itself heard in the house. There was the sound of running feet, and the door was opened. It opened slowly, for it was heavy. Beyond it stood two children, one a girl of about Anne's age, and the other a boy of Dick's age. Here you are at last, cried the boy, his dark eyes dancing. I thought you were never coming. This is Sooty, said Dick to the girls, who had not met him before. They smiled at him. So they rang the door, and two people came. One was obviously Sooty, and the other girl that they are talking about here is probably Maribel. We remember, right? Maribel is Sooty's sister. Yes. In contrast to him, the girl looked pale and delicate. She had golden hair, blue eyes, and her eyebrows were so faint they could hardly be seen. This is Maribel, my sister, said Sooty. Sooty was nice. Everyone liked him at once. George found herself twinkling at him in a way quite strange to her, for usually she was shy of strangers and would not make friends for some time. But who could help liking Sooty with the dancing black eyes and his really wicked green grin? So everybody has met each other, and even the children they have started liking Sooty because he's a fun person. There are some people that you just know are good, right? So the children think that Sooty is very nice, and also grin means a laugh, a sort of a smile. So they're liking how Sooty is, how he smiles, and they are probably going to be good friends. Come in, said Sooty. Driver, you can take the car around to the next door, and Block will take in the luggage for you and give you tea. So Block is probably the person who helps around in Sooty Lenore's house. And Sooty tells the driver to take the car to the next door, and Block is the name of a person. Block will help with the luggage. Suddenly, Sooty's face lost its smile and grew very solemn, grew very sad. He had seen Timmy. I say, that's not your dog, is it? He said. He's mine, said George, and she laid a protecting hand on Timmy's head. I had to bring him. I can't go anywhere without him. Yes, that's okay, but no dogs are allowed at Smuggler's Stop, said Sooty, still looking rather weird and worried, and glancing behind him as if he was afraid someone might come along and see Timmy. So we know, right? No dogs are allowed at Smuggler's Stop, and Sooty sees Timmy. So he's very worried on what's going to happen, and he asks George, "Hey, you remember, right? You didn't have to bring any dogs at Smuggler's Stop." So Sooty looks around that maybe his parents or Block have not seen the dog till now, so that he can think of something. Because if they see the dog, they will call Uncle Quentin and tell him, "Hey, not cool. We had a specific rule that no dogs were allowed," and Uncle Quentin would probably then call the children back home. My stepfather won't allow any dogs here. Anne gave a frightened little smile. George looked stubborn and sulky. So George was in a bad mood, and she looked rather adamant, stubborn, and she didn't want to make change her decision. I thought maybe we could hide him somewhere while we were here, said George. But if that's how you feel, I will go back home with the car. Goodbye. So George actually stands for her pets, and she loves him so much that she's saying, okay, if you guys, if we cannot hide the dog, if we cannot do something, then I will probably go back home so that the others can stay and enjoy. But I'm not leaving Timmy. She turned and went after the car, which was backing away. So the car was almost leaving, and she turned and went after the car. Timmy went with her. Sooty stared, and then he yelled after her, "Come back, stupid. We'll think of something." End of chapter 4. So this has been a rather exciting chapter. The children have finally come to Smuggler's Dock, and George has also got the dog. And Sooty says, "Hey, don't make rash decisions. Come back. We'll think something of the dog." I don't know what he's going to think, or what are they going to do, or where they're going to keep Timmy. But this is going to be exciting on what happens next. Also, this is just the start of the mystery. We are so soon going to get into the actual mystery. Smuggler's Stop sounds like a very adventurous, secretive place, and I think the mystery is about to happen here. Let's see. Looking forward to meet all of you in the next chapter. Thank you.